The ceiling shook again. Olivia sighed, burying her face in her hands as she tried to focus on the laptop in front of her. The noises coming from the apartment upstairs had been a constant in her life for weeks, disturbing her work and her sleep. "I can't take this anymore," she muttered to herself, her tired eyes fixed on the bright screen. The sound of something heavy hitting the floor made Olivia jump. She glanced at the clock, 11:45 p.m. Another night where sleep seemed like an unattainable luxury. Determined to try once more, Olivia grabbed the broom and banged on the ceiling, hoping the noisy neighbor would get the hint. For a moment, silence reigned. But soon the noises started again, more intense than before. Frustrated, Olivia threw herself onto the couch. The deep circles under her eyes were a silent testimony to her sleepless nights. She picked up her phone, thinking of calling the building manager, but hesitated. She had done that before, to no avail. A muffled groan echoed through the apartment. Olivia frowned, a mix of irritation and concern taking hold of her. What the hell is going on up there, she thought. That night, as she tossed and turned in bed, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious upstairs neighbor. She had never seen him, but the nocturnal sounds had become her unwanted companion. "Tomorrow," she promised herself, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Tomorrow I'm going to deal with this once and for all." Little did Olivia know that her decision to confront the noisy neighbor was about to change her life in ways she could never have imagined. Olivia stared at her phone screen, her fingers hovering over the virtual keyboard. Her heart pounded, a mix of anger and nervousness coursing through her veins. After another sleepless night, she finally decided to confront the noisy neighbor. "Come on, Olivia. You can do this," she murmured to herself, taking a deep breath before starting to type. "Hi, neighbor from the 5th floor. This is Olivia from the 4th. Sorry to bother you, but the noises coming from your apartment are really loud. Could you please try to keep it down? It's affecting my work and sleep. Thanks for understanding." She reread the message several times, adjusting the tone to be firm but polite. With one final sigh, she pressed send. The minutes that followed felt like an eternity. Olivia paced back and forth in her apartment, phone clenched in her hand. When the response notification finally came, she nearly dropped the device. "Hi, Olivia. This is Logan. Sorry, but I think there must be some mistake. I'm at work right now. What kind of noises are you hearing?" Olivia frowned, confused. She reread the message several times, trying to understand. "Logan, I'm sure the noises are coming from your apartment. They're like moans and things falling on the floor. It's happening right now." Logan's response was almost immediate, and the tone changed drastically. "What? Olivia, are you sure? My girlfriend should be home alone. What time did these noises start?" Olivia's stomach sank. The realization of what might be happening hit her like a punch. "Logan, the noises started about an hour ago. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cause any trouble." There was a long pause before Logan's next message. "Don't apologize, Olivia. You didn't cause any trouble. In fact, I think you just opened my eyes to something very important. Thank you." Olivia stared at the screen, a knot forming in her throat. What should have been a simple noise complaint had turned into something much more serious and personal. She sat on the couch, her hands trembling slightly, imagining the whirlwind of emotions Logan must be feeling at that moment. Logan stared at his phone, the world around him fading into a blur. Olivia's words echoed in his mind, each one like a stab in his chest. He barely noticed when his co-worker, Mark, approached. "Logan? Are you okay, man?" "You look pale," Mark asked, concern evident in his voice. Logan swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. I don't know, Mark. I think I need to go home." Without waiting for a response, Logan grabbed his things and hurried out of the office. In the elevator, he reread Olivia's messages, his heart racing with each word. When he reached the parking lot, his hands were shaking so much that he could barely unlock the car. Sitting behind the wheel, Logan took a deep breath, trying to calm himself enough to drive. "Calm down, Logan. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding," he murmured to himself, but the doubt had already taken root deep inside him. On the way home, his phone rang. It was Melissa, his girlfriend. Logan hesitated before answering. "Hey, love," Melissa's voice sounded cheerful on the other end of the line. "Are you going to be long? I miss you." Logan felt his stomach turn. Melissa, is everything okay there? Of course, why? I'm just here watching TV. Why? Did something happen? The lie was obvious. Logan could hear voices in the background, muffled but unmistakable. No, nothing, he replied, his voice cold. I'm at work. I might be home late tonight. He hung up before she could respond, his heart broken and his mind in turmoil. The streets blurred as he drove home, heading to confront a truth he never imagined he would have to face. When he parked in front of the building, Logan sat in the car for a few minutes, gathering his courage. He looked at his phone, thinking of Olivia, the neighbor who had inadvertently revealed the betrayal. With a deep sigh, he got out of the car and entered the building. Every step toward the elevator felt like it weighed a ton. As he ascended to the 5th floor, Logan prepared himself for what he was about to discover, his heart broken and his trust shattered. Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he approached his apartment door. The hallway, once so familiar, now felt like a path to the unknown. He could hear muffled laughter and soft music coming from inside. With trembling hands, Logan inserted the key into the lock, turning it as quietly as possible. He took a deep breath, bracing himself for what he was about to face. When he opened the door, the scene before him froze his blood. Melissa, his girlfriend of 3 years, was on the couch in the arms of a man he didn't recognize. Empty wine bottles decorated the coffee table, and clothes were strewn across the floor. Logan! Melissa screamed, jumping off the couch in shock. You weren't supposed to be home. The unknown man quickly stood up, looking uncomfortable and confused. Who's this, Mel? Logan remained silent for a moment, his mind processing the scene before him. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and trembling. Who is he, Melissa? And where's the other one? Melissa paled. The other one? What are you talking about? That moment, the sound of a toilet flushing echoed through the apartment, and a second man emerged from the bathroom, stopping abruptly when he saw Logan. Oh shit, the newcomer muttered. Logan felt his legs give out. He leaned against the wall, fighting the nausea that threatened to overwhelm him. 3 years, Melissa. 3 years together, and this is how it ends? Melissa started to cry, moving toward Logan. Love, please, it's not what it looks like. Don't touch me, Logan shouted, stepping back. Don't you dare call me love. It's over, Melissa. It's all over. He turned to leave but stopped at the door, looking over his shoulder. You have an hour to get out of my apartment. After that, your stuff will be on the street. Logan left, slamming the door behind him. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall, sliding down to the floor. Tears he had been holding back finally came, and he sobbed silently, his world collapsing around him. In that dark moment, Logan thought of Olivia, the neighbor who had inadvertently alerted him. With trembling hands, he picked up his phone, hesitating before typing a message. Olivia, you were right. Thank you for telling me. You saved me from a life of lies. After sending the message, Logan closed his eyes, feeling the crushing weight of betrayal and loss. The future he had planned with Melissa had shattered into 1,000 pieces, leaving him alone in the hallway, struggling to breathe amidst the overwhelming pain. Logan sat in the hallway for long minutes, the silence broken only by the muffled sounds coming from his apartment. Whispered voices, hurried movements, and the noise of things being dragged reached his ears, each sound a new stab to his already shattered heart. Finally, the door opened. Melissa came out first, followed by the 2 men. Her eyes met Logan's, red and swollen. Logan, she began, but he raised his hand, silencing her. No, Melissa. There's nothing you can say, Logan spoke, his voice hoarse from crying. 2 men walked past quickly, avoiding looking at Logan. One of them muttered a barely audible "sorry, man" before disappearing into the elevator. Melissa stood there, tears streaming down her face. Can we talk, please? I can explain. Logan slowly stood up, feeling decades older. Explain what, Melissa? How you destroyed everything we built. How you made me look like a fool. That's not what I meant, she sobbed. But it's what you did, Logan interrupted, his voice heavy with pain and anger. 3 years, Melissa. 3 years of my life wasted on someone who didn't even respect me enough to be faithful. Melissa took a step toward him, but Logan backed away. Please, Logan, I love you. It was a mistake. Love? Logan laughed bitterly. This isn't love, Melissa. What you did, it's pure selfishness. You didn't think about me, you didn't think about our future. You only thought about yourself. The silence that followed was deafening. Melissa sobbed quietly, while Logan struggled to keep his composure. Your things, he finally said. Get them and leave. I don't want to see you anymore. Logan, please. Melissa pleaded one last time. He just shook his head, unable to say anything more. With one last pleading look, Melissa walked into the apartment to gather her things. Logan stood there, feeling empty and betrayed. When Melissa came out again, hurriedly carrying a suitcase, he couldn't even look at her. Goodbye, Logan, she whispered before leaving. Alone in the hallway, Logan finally entered his apartment. The smell of strange perfume and sour wine hit him immediately. He looked around at the place he once called home, now tainted by betrayal. He sat heavily on the couch, the same couch where minutes earlier he had caught Melissa with another man. Tears came again, uncontrollably. Logan cried for everything he had lost, for all the shattered dreams, for the broken trust. In the midst of his pain, his phone vibrated. It was a message from Olivia. Logan, are you okay? Do you need anything? He looked at the message, a small beam of light in the darkness that surrounded him. Maybe, he thought, not everything was lost. Maybe there was still some goodness in the world. Logan stared at the phone screen, Olivia's message shining like a beacon in the darkness that surrounded him. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, hesitant. After a few moments, he began to type. Olivia, I don't know if I'm okay. Everything's fallen apart. The response came almost instantly. Do you want to talk about it? Logan felt a lump in his throat. I don't know if I can talk in person right now. That's okay, Olivia replied. We can talk here. I'm here to listen. And so began a long exchange of messages. Slowly, Logan opened up his heart to the neighbor he barely knew. She cheated on me, Olivia. With 2 men. In our apartment. Logan, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. You didn't deserve that. Olivia's words of understanding were like a balm for his wounded soul. Logan continued. 3 years together. I was going to propose to her next month. Oh, Logan. I can't even imagine your pain. As the night wore on, Logan shared more. He talked about his broken dreams, his fears for the future, his shattered trust. Olivia listened, offering words of comfort and understanding. How am I supposed to trust anyone again? Logan asked at one point. One step at a time, Logan. Trust takes time to rebuild, but it's possible. Hours passed, and the conversation flowed naturally. Logan was surprised to realize that, for the first time since discovering the betrayal, he didn't feel completely alone. Olivia, I don't know how to thank you. You barely know me, and yet you're here listening to me. Sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger. And well, I guess we're not such strangers anymore, are we? Logan felt a small smile form on his lips, the first in hours. I guess not. When the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the apartment windows, Logan realized they had talked all night. Olivia, it's already morning. I'm sorry for keeping you up. Don't worry about it. I'm glad I could help, even if just a little. Logan looked around the apartment. The memories of the betrayal were still fresh, but something had changed. A small glimmer of hope was beginning to shine in his chest. Olivia, thank you. Really? We're here for each other, neighbor. Get some rest now. Logan lay down on the couch, emotionally and physically exhausted. But for the first time since discovering the betrayal, he didn't feel completely lost. Olivia's messages had been an anchor in the storm, and he clung to this new connection like a lifeline. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the small corner cafe as Logan waited anxiously, his fingers drumming on the worn wooden table. His eyes darted to the door every time the bell rang, signaling the arrival of a new customer. Finally, he saw her. Olivia walked in, her eyes scanning the room until they met Logan's. A shy smile formed on her lips as she approached. Hi, Logan, she said softly, sitting down across from him. It's good to finally meet you in person. Logan nodded, suddenly feeling nervous. Hi, Olivia. Thanks for coming. I didn't know if you would. Of course I would, she replied, her gaze gentle. After everything we talked about, how could I not? An awkward silence settled between them, broken only when the waitress came to take their orders. They both opted for coffee, as if needing something to occupy their hands. "So," Olivia began after the waitress left, "how are you feeling today?" Logan sighed deeply, his eyes fixed on the table. "Honestly, lost. I wake up and for a second I forget everything that happened. Then reality hits me like a punch in the gut." Olivia reached out, lightly touching Logan's hand. "I'm so sorry. I know there aren't really any words that can help, but—" "No," Logan interrupted, looking at her. "Your words helped. More than you know." Coffees arrived, and they sipped in silence for a moment. "You know," Logan continued, "I never imagined I'd be here, pouring my heart out to a neighbor I barely knew a few days ago." Olivia smiled sadly. "Life is funny that way. Sometimes the people we least expect are the ones who help us the most." Logan nodded, feeling tears well up in his eyes. "I still can't believe it. 3 years, Olivia. 3 years thrown away." "They weren't thrown away, Logan," Olivia said firmly. "They were years of learning, of growth. What she did was terrible, but it doesn't diminish who you are or what you experienced." Olivia's words hit Logan deeply. He felt the tears finally fall. "I'm sorry," he murmured, quickly wiping his eyes. "Don't apologize," Olivia responded, her voice full of compassion. "You have every right to cry, to be angry, to be hurt." Logan looked at her, seeing not pity but understanding in her eyes. "How can you be so kind to someone you barely know?" Olivia smiled softly. "Because we've all been through pain, Logan. And sometimes all we need is someone to listen without judgment." In that moment, looking at Olivia through his tears, Logan felt something change inside him. It wasn't the end of the pain, far from it. But it was the beginning of something new, something unexpected. "Thank you, Olivia," he said, his voice choked. "For everything." She gently squeezed his hand. "That's what neighbors are for, right?" They continued talking, the coffee growing cold and forgotten in front of them. And though Logan's heart was still broken, he felt for the first time in days that maybe, just maybe, he could survive this storm. The days that followed the cafe meeting brought a new routine for Logan and Olivia. What began with occasional messages turned into daily conversations, sometimes lasting for hours. One night, Olivia's phone rang. It was Logan. "Hey," his voice trembled on the other end of the line. "Sorry for calling so late." Olivia sat up in bed, worried. "It's okay, Logan. What's going on?" There was a long pause before he replied. I found some old photos of me and Melissa. I can't stop looking at them and thinking about how stupid I was." Olivia's heart ached. "Logan, you weren't stupid. You were someone who loved and trusted. That's never foolish." "But I should have seen it coming," Logan insisted, his voice breaking. "There had to be signs." "Not always," Olivia responded gently. "Sometimes the people we love hurt us in the worst ways possible, and there's nothing we can do to stop it." Logan sobbed on the other end of the line. "How am I going to get over this, Olivia? How am I going to move on?" "One day at a time," she replied. "And you're not alone in this journey. I'm here." The silence that followed was heavy, but not uncomfortable. Finally, Logan spoke. "Olivia, why are you doing all this for me?" Question caught Olivia off guard. She thought for a moment before answering. "Because I know what it's like to feel alone and betrayed. Because no one deserves to go through this without support. And because I care about you, Logan." The admission hung between them, heavy with meaning. "I care about you too," Logan replied softly. "More than I thought I could after everything that's happened." Olivia felt her heart race. "Logan, No," he gently interrupted her. "We don't need to label this right now. Just thank you for being here." They continued talking until dawn, sharing stories of their pasts, fears for the future, and dreams they had buried long ago. When they finally said goodnight, both felt that something fundamental had changed between them. In the days that followed, Logan and Olivia started seeing each other more often. Walks in the park, shared coffees, even impromptu dinners in their respective apartments. Each moment together was a building block in something new and precious. One night, sitting on Olivia's couch watching a movie, Logan turned to her. "You know," he began hesitantly, "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for that terrible night. Olivia looked at him, surprised. Grateful? Logan nodded. If it hadn't happened, I would never have really gotten to know you. And now, I can't imagine my life without you in it. The words hung between them, full of promise and possibility. Olivia smiled softly, intertwining her fingers with Logan's. Me neither, she whispered. Right there, in that simple moment, they both felt the weight of their pasts lighten a little. The future was still uncertain, full of challenges and fears. But now, at least, they wouldn't face it alone. The night was quiet, except for the soft murmur of voices coming from Olivia's apartment. She and Logan sat on the living room floor, backs against the couch, a half-empty bottle of wine between them. Clock on the wall read 3:15 a.m. You know, Logan started, his voice a little slurred from the wine. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night looking for her. Olivia turned to him, her eyes full of understanding. That must be hard. Logan nodded, swallowing hard. It's like a part of me still doesn't believe it's over. It's normal, Olivia replied softly, placing her hand over his. Sometimes the heart takes longer to accept what the mind already knows. They sat in silence for a moment, the touch of their hands saying more than words ever could. And you? Logan asked, breaking the silence. Have you ever been through something like this? Olivia took a deep breath, her eyes becoming distant. Yes. A few years ago. He didn't cheat on me, but he left when I needed him most. Logan squeezed her hand gently, encouraging her to continue. I was pregnant, she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. When I told him, he just disappeared. Not a word, no explanation. Just gone. Oh, Olivia, Logan murmured, pulling her into a hug. I'm so sorry. That's awful. She nestled into his arms, letting the tears fall freely. I lost the baby 2 weeks later. I think the stress was too much. Logan held her tighter, feeling his own heart break for her pain. You went through that alone? Olivia nodded against his chest. I had no one to tell. My family lives far away, and I distanced myself from friends because of him. You're incredibly strong, Logan said, pulling back a little to look into her eyes. To go through all that and still have the capacity to care to help others, you're amazing, Olivia. She smiled sadly, wiping away her tears. I guess we're both survivors, huh? Logan nodded, a small smile forming on his lips. I think so. And I'm grateful we found each other. The silence that followed was comfortable, full of mutual understanding and a connection that grew stronger each day. Olivia settled back into Logan's arms and he held her protectively. Logan, she murmured, her voice sleepy. Yes? Thank you for being here. For listening. Logan gently kissed the top of her head. Always, Olivia. Always. There, on the living room floor, with the sky starting to lighten outside, Logan and Olivia found a moment of peace amid their shared pain. It wasn't a happy ending, not yet, but it was a beginning. A beginning of healing, renewed trust, and perhaps something deeper that they both still feared to name. The elevator slowly ascended, carrying Logan and Olivia back to their building after a long day exploring the city. The silence between them was charged with unspoken electricity, their eyes meeting and quickly looking away. Today was... Logan began, his voice rough. Incredible, Olivia finished, a shy smile playing on her lips. Their hands brushed lightly, sending shivers through both of them. The elevator abruptly stopped between 2 floors, the lights flickering before going out completely. What happened? Olivia asked, a hint of panic in her voice. Logan fumbled in the dark, finding her hand. It's probably a power outage. Don't worry, it'll come back soon. In the darkness, their breathing seemed deafening. Olivia instinctively moved closer to Logan, her body trembling slightly. Are you okay? Logan asked softly, his thumb stroking her hand. Just a little claustrophobic, Olivia admitted. Distract me, please. Logan hesitated for a moment before speaking. You know what I liked most about today? What? The way your eyes lit up when we saw the sunset at the park, he said, his voice low and intense. You looked radiant. Olivia's heart raced. Logan, That moment, the lights came back on, revealing just how close they were. Their faces were inches apart, eyes locked on each other. I think I'm falling for you, Logan whispered. Time seemed to freeze. Olivia felt her breath catch, years of fear and pain battling against the burning desire growing in her chest. Me too, she finally replied, her voice barely audible. Logan leaned in slowly, giving her a chance to pull away. But Olivia didn't. Their lips met in a soft, hesitant kiss that quickly deepened, years of loneliness and pain dissolving in that moment. The elevator started moving again, but they barely noticed. When the doors opened on their floor, they pulled apart, breathless and a little dazed. That was... Logan began. Unexpected, Olivia finished, a genuine smile lighting up her face. They walked out of the elevator hand in hand, slowly making their way down the hallway. And now? Logan asked, a mix of hope and fear in his voice. Olivia stopped, turning to him. Now we try. Slowly. Together. Logan nodded, pulling her in for another kiss, this one more confident, more full of promise. When they finally parted, both had tears in their eyes. Not tears of sadness, but of relief, of renewed hope. Good night, Olivia, Logan said softly, reluctant to let her go. Good night, Logan, she replied, her smile bright even in the dim hallway. As they each entered their own apartments, both felt that something fundamental had shifted. The future was still uncertain, full of challenges and fears to be overcome. But now, for the first time in a long time, both Logan and Olivia felt they had something worth fighting for, something precious and fragile, yet infinitely valuable. The love that was born in that elevator wasn't a magical cure for their past wounds, but it was a beginning. A beginning full of possibilities, second chances, and the promise of better days to come. Night was falling over the city as Logan and Olivia returned from another of their outings, laughter echoing down the street as they approached the building. Hand in hand, they seemed oblivious to the world around them. That's when they saw her. Melissa was standing in front of the building, her face pale under the streetlights. When her eyes fell on Logan and Olivia's intertwined hands, her expression twisted into a mask of pain and anger. Logan? Melissa called, her voice trembling. I came to talk to you. Logan's smile vanished instantly, replaced by a look of shock and discomfort. Melissa? What are you doing here? Olivia felt Logan squeeze her hand as if seeking strength. She stepped forward, protective. I think you should leave, she said firmly to Melissa. Melissa's eyes narrowed, focusing on Olivia. And who are you to tell me what to do? You slut, you boyfriend thief. With a scream of rage, Melissa lunged at Olivia, her fists clenched. You ruined everything. He was mine. In a flash, Logan moved, stepping in front of Olivia and grabbing Melissa's raised hand before it could strike Olivia. Enough, Logan shouted, his voice echoing down the now silent street. Melissa, it's over. What we had ended the moment you betrayed me. And Olivia? Olivia is my girlfriend now, so watch your mouth when you talk about her. He pointed an accusing finger at her. You have no right to show up here and cause this scene. Melissa, still trembling and tearful, tried to step closer. Logan, please, I just wanted to... No! Logan cut her off sharply. You don't want anything but your own pleasure without thinking of anyone else. You brought 2 men into our apartment. You're selfish, Melissa. You always were. Logan's words hit Melissa like physical blows, causing her to step back. You betrayed me, Logan continued, his voice laden with pain. You destroyed our trust, our future. And now you have the audacity to come here and attack Olivia? You're pathetic, Melissa. Melissa sobbed, trying one last time. I love you, Logan. Please. Love? Logan laughed bitterly. That's not love, Melissa. It's obsession. It's selfishness. Go away. I can't stand to look at you. Leave. Now. He stepped closer to her, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. And if you dare come near us again, I swear I'll go to the police. Do you understand? Melissa nodded weakly, defeated. She cast one last pleading look at Logan before turning and stumbling down the street, her sobs echoing into the night. Logan and Olivia quickly went inside. In the elevator, they finally embraced, the emotions of the night hitting them in waves. I'm sorry, Logan murmured into Olivia's hair. I never wanted this to happen. Olivia hugged him tighter. It's not your fault. She's crazy, what can you do? It's over, he said, more to himself than to Olivia. It's really over. The elevator ascended slowly, the silence between Logan and Olivia charged with emotion. Olivia looked at Logan, her eyes shining with a mix of admiration and suppressed desire. The way he had defended her had awakened something deep inside her. "Logan," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What you did down there?" Logan turned to her, his eyes locking with hers. "I'd do it again 1,000 times to protect you from anything and anyone." The elevator stopped, but neither of them made a move to get out. Olivia stepped closer to Logan, closing the space between them. "You make me feel safe," she murmured, her hands reaching up to touch his face. "Protected. Valued." Logan wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her closer. "You deserve all that and more, Olivia." Their lips met in a passionate kiss, their hands exploring, discovering the warmth of each other. Breathless, they pulled apart, their foreheads still touching. "My place or yours?" Logan asked, a playful smile tugging at his lips. "Yours," Olivia answered without hesitation. "It's closer." They barely made it to Logan's apartment door, their hands eager, lips meeting every few steps. Once inside, clothes were discarded in a frenzy of passion and long-repressed desire. Later, lying in each other's arms, the moonlight filtering through the window, Olivia traced lazy patterns on Logan's chest. "You know," she began, her voice soft in the darkness, "I never thought I'd find this again." Logan kissed the top of her head. "Find what?" "This feeling," Olivia replied, snuggling closer to him. Of being home." Logan felt his heart swell at her words. "I know exactly what you mean. You've changed everything." Olivia lifted her head, her eyes meeting his in the dim light. "Logan, I think I'm falling in love with you." A wide smile spread across Logan's face. "Think? I'm sure I'm in love with you, Olivia." They kissed again, this time slowly and tenderly, sealing the silent promise of a future together. Olivia nodded. "I know, but we're in this together, right? Step by step, day by day." "Always together," Logan confirmed, pulling her closer. As they drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, both felt that, despite the challenges they would still face, they had found something precious. A love born from the ashes of past relationships, stronger because of the hardships they had overcome. The night enveloped them, and for the first time in a long time, both Logan and Olivia slept without nightmares, secure in each other's warmth, dreaming of the possibilities tomorrow would bring. What would you do in Logan's place? Would you forgive Melissa? Tell me here in the comments. Watch other stories on the channel and enjoy!